Andrew, both of those go on the 20th.
Testing 1, 2, 3.
Do you want me to see if we can hear Dave?
Sure.
Hey, Dave. Can you hear us? Can you try so we can hear you?
Test.
Oh, sorry. Oh, can you try? Sorry, Dave. Can you try one more time?
Yep.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you. Thank you.
Office of People's Council. Someone from staff told us that the proving ground thing, the Army, is it deferred?
Yes, that's going to be deferred.
Okay, yeah, thanks, appreciate it. You're welcome.
Do we need one? Oh, usually I've seen one. I was trying to see if someone from the Army.
So, welcome to the Public Service Commission's administrative meeting for September 6, 2023. We have minutes from our meeting of August 23rd. We'll take a motion to approve the minutes and start with Commissioner Sussman,
Aye.
Commissioner Barbe,
Aye.
Commissioner Richard.
Aye.
I vote aye. Minutes are adopted. Executive Secretary.
Morning, Mr. Chair. At the outset, we will be deferring items 5 and 6 to the administrative meeting on September 20th, 2023. There are 3 items on today's consent agenda. Item number 1 is an application from Bakey Energy Consulting for a license to supply natural gas, and items 2 and 3 are weather station designations from Easton Utilities Corporation and UGI Utilities, Inc.
Okay, so regarding item 1, I move that we grant a waiver of the requirement outlined in COMAR 20.54.02.02b, parentheses 5, that the company submits certificates of good standing, that we grant the company a license to operate as a natural gas supplier in Maryland, limited to broker services for the customer classes and the service territories applied for and recommended by staff, and that we direct the company to file notice with the commission within 30 days of any changes in the information from the application. Vote starts with Commissioner Sussman.
Aye.
Commissioner Barbe.
Aye.
Commissioner Richard.
Aye.
I vote aye. Regarding items 2 and 3, I move that we approve the weather station designations for the purpose of determining when there is an extreme weather period that requires restrictions on either electricity or natural gas service terminations under COMAR 2.31.03.03 and COMAR 203.31.03.04. Vote starts with Commissioner Sussman.
Aye.
Commissioner Barbe.
Aye.
Commissioner Richard.
Aye.
I vote aye.
Mr. Chair, item number 4 on the administrative agenda is a petition from Washington Gas Light Company.
Actually, I mean, so. I guess.
Good morning, Chair, Commissioners. Michael Jang on behalf of staff. Item 4 on the agenda is a petition from WGL to proceed with 2 additional gas heat pump installations for the company's gas heat pump pilot program, as well as an updated schedule for the gas heat pump pilot program. WGL's gas heat pump pilot program was originally approved by the Commission on October 27, 2021. The Office of People's Counsel later filed comments on February 22, 2023, requesting that the Commission end WGL's gas heat pump pilot program. The Commission then ruled on the request in Commission Order number 90663. The Commission, through Order 90663, indicated that no additional JHPs may be installed, including the 2 that are in process of installation and the commercial customer noted at the hearing. If significant funds have already been spent on any of the 3 units at the time of this order, WGL may petition the Commission for inclusion of the units in the pilot program. WGL's petition is for 2 additional JHP units, 1 residential unit, and 1 commercial unit. The residential unit has a total expected cost of $96,900, with $84,100 already spent or committed. The commercial unit has a total expected cost of $107,000, with $89,100 already spent or committed. staff spec sheet contains tables showing the breakdown of the costs associated with each unit. Both of the GHP units have had at least 80% of total expected costs spent or committed. Installing the 2 units will support the company in obtaining data that they can use for the evaluation of the pilot program. Furthermore, the company indicates that the GHP pilot can be completed within the currently approved budget. The company is also requesting a 9-month extension of the GHP pilot program schedule to address the other requirements in the Commission's order related to evaluation, measurement, and verification of any of the savings that the pilot program may produce. And the company indicates that a final report will be provided on September 30th, 2024. Staff recommends that the Commission approve the petition and GHP pilot program schedule extension of 9 months. Thank you, and we are available for questions.
Actually, if you could identify yourself.
Sorry.
Yeah, sure.
Hi, Michael Jang on behalf of staff.
All right. Does the company have anything they want to add to staff's comments?
No, Commissioner. Spencer Nichols on behalf of Washington Gas. I'll just introduce my colleagues, Ms. Erica Moore and Josh McClellan from our Energy Efficiency Department. The company stands behind and agrees with staff's recommendations. This is a relatively small program. The Commission has repeatedly approved it. We already have 2 gas heat pumps that we're looking at deriving data from and adding another 2 in order to determine the validity of these devices in the future of Maryland's emissions reductions policies.
Okay, and with that, we'll turn to the Office of People's Counsel who filed comments on this.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, Commissioners. Nicole Zeichner, Assistant People's Counsel with the Maryland Office of People's Counsel. After originally supporting Washington Gas's gas heat pump pilot program in October 2021, OPC changed its position after it filed its preliminary market assessment in January 2023. The market assessment demonstrated that the pilot was significantly behind schedule, results would not be available for the 2024 to 2026 Empower cycle, and the assessment contained flawed assumptions that led to an inflated assessment of the potential value of gas heat pumps. Maryland's policy landscape has also changed significantly since October 2021. The Climate Solutions Now Act of 2022 has passed. Empower Utilities have filed plans modeling GHG reduction scenarios. The Maryland Department of the Environment is developing a plan to meet the state's goal of 60% greenhouse gas reductions by 2023 and a path to achieve net zero by 2045. Now is not the time to invest in additional fossil fuel technology. OPC fears that this is an issue of the sunk cost fallacy. The budget that has been expended thus far on these 2 particular heat pumps amounts to less than 1.1% of Washington Gas's 2023 Empower budget. We realize the costs were not all part of the 2023 budget, but this is illustrative of the relatively insignificant spend that has occurred here. Additional costs will also be incurred if these installations go forward. There are evaluation costs associated with the Evaluation Advisory Group work group, which Washington Gas notes in its filing. There are also additional costs for the installations themselves. There's $12,800 in additional costs for the single-family home gas heat pump and $17,900 in additional costs for the commercial gas heat pump. And further, we do note that one of these heat pumps, the unit itself, is within its 6-month return window, and it does appear, if I'm reading Washington Gas's discovery responses correctly, that the other would have been eligible for return when the Commission issued its order on June 9th, 2023. And if that is the case, and the Commission can confirm, we don't feel that ratepayers should be paying for that gas heat pump if it could have been returned and was not. This is not the time to move forward with more fossil fuel technology, and OPC fears that this is an issue where we're basically putting more money into a program that has not been proven to have any value, and OPC would respectfully oppose the installation of these additional gas heat pumps.
So before I turn to the company, let me ask staff, do you have any views on OPC's comments?
So, staff is following Commission Order 90663, and you know, it clearly states if the company has spent significant funds, then they may petition the Commission to include these 2 additional units. However, we are not opposed to OPC's comments or suggestions if that's what the commission decides.
Okay. So,
Mr. Chairman?
well, actually, let me have the company respond to
Okay.
OPC, and then we'll turn to questions from us. So, go ahead.
We'd agree that an order allowing the company to continue with the program as proposed in its petition would be exactly consistent with the commission's prior order, which clearly said the commission will permit the pilot program to continue. As staff pointed out, there's already been over 80% of the planned budget for each one of these installations has already occurred. And to stop the program now, I think would be premature and would result in unnecessary waste and questions being left unanswered. I think I would say to the Office of People's Counsels and other interveners, if there are questions about the performance of gas heat pumps compared to electric heat pumps, which is exactly what this commission has ordered to be done in this case, those questions can be answered or would not be able to be better answered without more data as part of this program. The company is not proposing to move forward with any new gas heat pump pilot program in the next program cycle. So this will be the last opportunity, I think, for at least the customers in our service territory and for the company to examine whether this technology can be part of Maryland's energy future. And with respect to returning the equipment, I would just say this is the first time that I've heard this argument from OPC, and that's certainly the idea that the company would return or was obligated to consider returning this equipment upon the commission's order in June. That's absent from the commission's order. I don't think that's ever been raised in a proceeding before the commission.
Commissioner Barve.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm ashamed to say I've never heard of gas heat pumps. Is this a new technology?
Good morning, Mr. Commissioner. Josh McClellan, Director of Energy Efficiency at Washington Gas. So gas heat pump technology as a concept has been around for a little while, but there is limited market penetration for this technology. It's more prevalent in the colder parts of the country, up in the Northeast and in various parts of Canada. So there is some more prevalence there, but in the mid-Atlantic and in the warmer and more temperate parts of the country, they're a little more obscure.
So, okay, so when do you anticipate this pilot will be completed with a report?
Right now, Mr. Commissioner, it's scheduled, in our proposal, we propose to submit the report in September of 2024.
2024?
Yes.
Okay.
Correct. So it would be a 9-month extension to the end of the current program cycle, which ends in December of this year.
Okay. And we're using Empower Maryland funding for this?
Yes, from the current program cycle, and as you've seen in our petition, the commission asked us to certify that we are on track to stay on budget for this program, and we've done that.
Well, I have to say I'm torn. I don't know how I'm going to vote on this. Thank you, though. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Richard.
Thank you, Chair Hoover. Full disclosure, I dissented on this item in order 90663, so largely for the reasons that OPC laid out. But maybe just what would this is an Empower program, is that correct? This is a pilot under the Empower program, and the company does not intend to propose a program based on gas heat pumps in the next program cycle, do they?
Those plans have already been submitted, and the company did not include a gas heat pump pilot for the program beginning in 2024, correct? Given that we were planning to try and finish out this current program from the current cycle.
Okay. I'm just trying to understand, though, why expand this program if it doesn't have any, I guess, reason for purposes of Empower program? What would the reason be to continue and expand the program?
Well, I wouldn't call it an expansion of the program. I would call it a continuation of the program that we've proposed and has already been approved, to just add another 2 heat pumps to our current 2 heat pumps that have been installed in order to evaluate whether this technology is a viable option for the future.
Okay, I'm still not fully understanding why we would do this program if we don't intend to use it in Maryland's energy efficiency program and greenhouse gas reduction program.
Sure. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Erica Moore, Manager of Energy Efficiency Programs at Washington Gas. I hear your point. We did not want to consider gas heat pumps as part of our program design for the upcoming cycle because we didn't have any data that we could use to support an argument to include them in the cycle. So the goal here with this pilot and asking for the extension is to be able to complete the data analysis necessary to be able to assess whether they would be a cost-effective addition to our portfolio of programs. So at the point that we finish the pilot, hopefully in September of next year, we'll have a final report, we'll have savings data available that's been reviewed by the evaluation advisory group and stakeholders, and at that point we would either say this technology is not going to work in the future for us in Empower, or we would look to incorporate it into our existing rebate programs, for example, if and only if we have the data to support that.
Okay. It could be interesting. I'm not really sure how we would use it in Maryland, but you're members of AGA, correct? I mean, are there other gas companies out there that are doing similar research? I mean, it would be great to at least say that whatever you've done so far with Empower money could contribute to some kind of a base of knowledge. But again, now I'm commenting. I guess I'm not asking a question unless you've already begun that process of reaching out and trying to figure out if we could at least contribute with what we've spent already with Empower money, even if it's not going to be used in a Maryland program. So.
If I may make a comment.
Yeah.
Yes, so there are other utilities across North America, both in the U.S. and Canada, that have been part of they call it the North American Gas Heat Pump Collaborative. So there are discrete utilities across North America that are running similar pilots or pilots with different scopes, different budgets, assessing gas heat pump technology. So the goal here is that we are working to contribute to that body of work to be able to assess the technology in multiple different climate zones. And our goal with this pilot was that many of the other pilots that are happening across North America are, as Josh mentioned earlier, happening in more northern climates, and we wanted to make sure that we were getting Maryland-specific results.
Okay, very good. I intend to stay consistent with my previous position, but I'm glad to hear that this Empower money that's been spent already can contribute to, I guess, the greater good in this research. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Schlesman.
Good morning. The pilot as designed was to have 4 units in place. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and under the pilot, it was going to take you how long to get those units in place when it was first proffered?
The intent was to have the units installed and have data available for evaluation by the end of this year.
By the end of this year, okay. And so you have 2 in place, and what happened in terms of the other 2?
So the other 2 in Commission Order 90663, we had installs planned for July of this year, but the Commission asked us to pause the installations until it could gather further data. So we've been working through data requests until today and have not been able to install them due to that Commission order.
Okay, but you identified
Yes.
the customers, and so they're just waiting for the installation. Yes. Okay, and have you identified interest from others as well?
We, in the course of recruiting customers to participate in the pilot, we did have others who were interested, but due to budget constraints as well as timing, we don't have anybody else that is ready for a gas heat pump today.
Okay. So for the customers that have installations already in place, they're operating now under the gas heat pump, and have you been able to collect data from those operations? So you do have some data.
Yes.
So even if we were to reject continuation of the pilot, you have in place some data that can inform the data that AGA is collecting now.
Yes, we
Okay.
will have data from 2 gas heat pumps. Our argument is that we would like to have a larger sample size just to ensure there isn't any variation of data due to unforeseen circumstances or variations.
And in terms of the data that you're hoping to collect, what is it that you are hoping to be able to show with the data?
From the data collected from all 4.
That's right.
Yes, so under Empower, any measure or technology that we include in our programs, it has to go through a rigorous cost effectiveness test to ensure that the savings generated from that technology and the benefits essentially in terms of dollars, greenhouse gas emissions and such outweigh the cost of the participation in the program. So what we would use the data for is to run it through that cost benefit analysis that any other measure goes through, but we aren't able to do that today because we don't have savings quantified at this point for this technology.
Okay. But in terms of the other technologies that are in place now in other parts of the country, have those numbers been run, and have they determined whether there is a benefit to having these installed versus what they were using before that?
I can't comment specifically on what other jurisdictions have done. There have been initial studies that I've seen that our pilot implementer, the Gas Technology Institute, has been running that indicated that there were savings to be had, which was the purpose of us trying to run this pilot.
Okay, and then what about GHG reductions? And then I guess, has there been a comparison of gas to electric heat pumps, and then a determination of GHG savings, one versus the other? Do you know?
Today we don't have that, but that's part of the reason we're asking for the timeline extension, because Commission Order 90663 required us to do that exact comparative analysis.
No, I know you haven't done that, but
outside of us.
That's right. So
Not
so
that
do you
I'm
know
aware of.
that whether AGA member companies have done that analysis?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay.
Commissioner, if I may, we're not specific. We're not certain on certain utilities or entities that have done that analysis, but GTI Energy, the implementer for our pilot program, did conduct kind of a broader analysis of that, which was included in our preliminary market assessment in terms of just doing some very high-level comparative analysis between electric and gas heat pump technology. But it was very broad and very generalized, and so as part of the commission order, we wanted to make that more Maryland-specific information more detailed and more accurate.
Okay. If we were to reject continuation or the installation of the final two, and recognizing that two customers is not a great sample size, would you still have some information available that you would be able to produce in a report for, at least for those customers?
If I may, we would have some information, but it would not be an entirely adequate amount of information. The stipulations that are now surrounding this pilot program through Order 90663 is that we need to have some heavy involvement with the Empower Maryland Evaluation Advisory Group. That's also the statewide evaluator. So there is an emphasis and a focus on trying to get a very high level of accuracy in doing this comparative analysis with gas heat pump technology in relation to electric heat pump technology. So there is an impetus, there's sort of to collect as much data as we possibly can to inform that analysis and make it as realistic and accurate as possible.
I mean, I don't know where the other commissioners are on this, but I would benefit from some additional information from other AGA members about how their pilots have gone. I mean, I'm kind of with Commissioner Barve. I don't know very much about gas heat pump technology, and so I mean, it's if the results of this pilot are not going to benefit anybody ultimately, then it's not a good use of your time and the state's money to keep funding this pilot. So I'd like to just get a little bit more educated about what we're talking about. So if there are results from other pilots in other jurisdictions that can help me to make a decision, I think I would be more comfortable with that. And that's all I have.
Commissioner, if I may provide a quick comment.
Please.
You have a very valid point, and I think that was the entire intention of setting out to conduct and implement this pilot. Is we want to find out if gas heat pump technology does have value to our ratepayers and can be a contribution to Empower Maryland. That was the original design of what we set out to do. And ultimately, us asking for these additional installations and for this extension is going to see that through, and with what we originally designed to do and what the commission at the time approved us.
No, I appreciate that, except that the program started in 2021, so that's 2 years that things have happened in the industry. And to OPC's point, things are changing in Maryland too in terms of how we look at gas. So it's just in that 2-year period. It would be helpful for me, at least, in making a decision to have some sense of how this is operated in other jurisdictions, whether there were significant savings, benefits, and how it compares to electric heat pumps. Otherwise, I feel like I'm making a decision in a vacuum.
Okay. Understood. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, just for my knowledge, and anybody at the table can answer this. So, Order 90663 was issued in June of this year?
Yes.
Okay. And so under that order, you were told to basically halt the process on these 2 remaining items until certain things were checked out.
Yes.
But I see in staff's buck sheet, there's a couple, it's on page 5. There's 2 cost breakdowns of these 2 units. So, I mean, was this work that was going on prior to the June order?
Correct.
So a number of these costs were already in the works before the timeout was called, so to speak. And so even though the commission told you that you could apply to get these projects included, there was no guarantee of that, but I take it that a lot of this money had already been spent before June of 2023.
Correct. And we can provide more context on what that money was spent on, if that's helpful.
No, I think it's pretty clear. I'm just trying to get a sense of sort of, and the reason why, so you filed this in July. You filed the petition because you had done, in your mind, what the commission order asked you to do about checking certain things out and things like that. So.
Yes.
And I guess this is for staff. So the company's request is that this pilot be extended for essentially another year, correct?
For 9 months, yes.
Or 9 months, so. Now, how does that fit in with the other activities that are going in this area? I mean, is this report going to be later than stuff that we're already doing? I mean, I guess what I'm trying to find out is the ship going to sail before we get this information?
So my understanding is the power plans for the next cycle have already been filed. Staff is currently reviewing them, and I believe we already scheduled the hearings later this year. So any results from the pilot program that the company finds would either have to be later added as an additional measure, or it could be proposed as a new program in the following cycle.
And I guess for OPC, I mean, what's your view about if this information shows up 9 months from now? Is there any value to be gleaned from it?
Mr. Chairman, I would say minimal, and that's part of the reason we opposed. And although that is one concern, the big issue is how much policy has changed in Maryland. We don't see how we have these GHG reduction plans that have been filed by the Empower Utilities, and now we'd be putting a fossil fuel technology into those plans, and I just think it's contrary to state policy, and it's not something that ratepayers should be paying for. So that was our concern. Yes, how would the results even be used, but also the fact that they just are contrary to state policy.
So for the company, in line with this last question about what ratepayers are on the hook for. I mean, where are we on that?
I think, according to staff's bug sheet, it's relatively minimal cost to continue with the installation of these 2 units. I think, and the total for both units, it's less than $20,000, I believe, for each one, compared to roughly $80,000 to $100,000 for each program total. So it really is sort of the last few steps on the finish line. I think my lay reading is really it's just the installation of the actual gas heat pump. That's the next and final biggest step that needs to occur. And I think along that line of questioning, Mr. Chairman, I think I would say it is quite possible that the results of this study will validate OPC's point that this is not a viable technology that should not fit in with Maryland's energy future, and we're more than willing to acknowledge that if that's what it reveals.
But it's your view that you don't have enough information right now to make that assessment, but you might get it with these 2 additional units.
That's correct, and I think I'd also add, if it hasn't been clear, it's really, we're also looking for Maryland-specific information. That's what I think has been lacking, and I don't think we're going to be able to provide any kind of Maryland-specific study to our climate that looks at gas heat pumps in the way that the Commission has ordered. So in that sense, I think it would be very valuable. Certainly the company isn't aware of having done a program like this in its service territory.
And staff's of the view that this additional information could be helpful.
Yes, so when the pilot program was first filed, along with additional other programs, one concern staff had was the amount of data that could be used to actually make a determination, So EMNV, it's evaluation, measurement, verification. It's very strict on the results, and the results can vary widely depending on how much data points you have. Right now, like the company indicated, they have 2 installations in place. If they have another 2, it may help them find significant savings, or it might still be lacking. It's just unknown at this time.
And just so the record's complete, these 2 are the last 2. There's not going to be any more after this. So.
That's correct.
Okay. All right, so we're going to take this under advisement because I think we're still got some outstanding questions on this that we may want to follow up with the company. So we're going to, I guess, defer it for today.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, are you okay about asking WGL to provide us information from other jurisdictions about the results from their pilots?
Yeah, we'll put together a list of information that we would like after I sort of check with them and get it to you, and then hopefully you can get the information back to us soon. Hopefully it won't be too big a burden. So.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, item number 7 is a report from the Office of Staff Counsel on the 2023 procurement improvement process for standard offer service.
Good morning, Chair Hoover, Commissioners. Lloyd Spivak for the Commission staff. Item number 7 is the report on the 2023 procurement improvement process. The procurement improvement process was established pursuant to the Phase 2 settlement agreement in case number 8908. It is conducted annually and intended to allow interested stakeholders, including but not limited to the utilities, wholesale and retail electricity suppliers, the Office of People's Counsel, and staff, to make minor changes to the standard offer service procurement for the coming year. As in prior years, the report filing includes a report outlining the changes proposed for the coming bid year, the utilities bid plans for the year, the proposed revisions to the Model RFP and Model Full Service Requirements Agreement, or FSA. This year, there are no non-consensus items on which the Commission is being asked to make a decision. However, I note that the parties have considered possible solutions, but not reached any agreement on how the SOS bid procedures should be modified to accommodate the potential Montgomery County community choice aggregation, and expect to continue discussions on that issue over the next several months. Staff recommends that the Commission approve this year's procurement improvement report and the accompanying documents.
So, any questions from any of the commissioners? So I just have one. So you mentioned this issue about Montgomery County. So approving the this report will not impede or affect that situation?
It will not.
Okay. All right, with that, I move that we approve the 2023 Procurement Improvement Process Report and the accompanying document revisions. The vote starts with Commissioner Sussman.
Aye.
Commissioner Barbe.
Aye.
Commissioner Richard.
Aye.
I vote aye. And with
Thank you,
that,
Commissioners.
the meeting is adjourned, and we will reconvene at, I guess, 11 o'clock for the BG&E case. So.